guys, welcome back. This is Eleonor from Revolution. I am here with Remi Guillemin, which you have probably seen on our channels in the last couple of days. He's the head of watches for the European market, Christie's, and you're going to introduce to us a couple of pieces that we both handpicked for the upcoming rare watches. It's going to happen throughout the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, so thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome.
And yeah, amazing selection of watches. Saturday at actually 11 a.m. We'll have our rare watches auction, the traditional auction that we have in November as well as in May.
161 lots.
Yeah, around that, exactly. And multiple brands, basically, from Rolex to Patek Philippe, the usual, you know.
Is there an actual trend that you could like spot or analyze between what happened in November towards shifting 6 months later now?
Sure. So I think that there's a lot of attention on the independent watchmakers, which is really amazing. You know, you really have collectors who are now who were actually used, you know, to purchasing maybe well-known brands, and with time, you know, they're actually educating themselves and realizing the value of the work of an independent watchmaker and how special, you know, watches can be in this segment. So that's really amazing. And then I definitely think that you have the return, you know, a strong return on the attention spent by collectors on vintage watches. So that's absolutely amazing. And yeah.
And yet the selection we have is 4 Rolexes and 2 Pateks.
Yeah, exactly. But I understand your
paradoxical.
love. Yeah, and your love for stone dials, you know, as well.
Yeah, I mean, if we start with stone dials, I could see there's a couple in the sale, and there's been a rise in interest when it comes to stone dials, both on a feminine collecting side, but also on a masculine collecting side.
For sure.
Can you explain? I mean, obviously this Rolex is very particular because it has a coral die, which probably Rolex will never make again. What makes the rarity of this particular one?
Well, you know, there are multiple factors. People enjoy stone dials, modern or vintage, because, you know, of their rarity, you know, the colorful aspect that, you know, the stones can bring, for example. And in the auction we have, as you mentioned, coral, we have a turquoise dial, but we also have, you know, so many different varieties, lapis lazuli, jasper, bloodstone. So, you know, if you're a collector and you're interested in day dates, it's actually something very interesting, you know, for you to get into. And then the rarity aspect, I think, has a major importance, you know, for the interest that collectors will have on a timepiece, but it's also about the quality. If a watch, you know, is well preserved, especially for a stone dial, which is known for being a bit fragile, you know, you're gonna have a dial that's totally intact and that it's in great condition for a watch that was made years ago.
And add to the fact that lapis and coral are 2 stones. Well, lapis, it has become more rare to actually source the actual stone, even in jewelry. But coral, we know everything around coral and what's happening around it. So
yeah,
rare are the watches that are going to be made again with this stone.
And then, you know, when you're a collector and you see so many different varieties of stone dials, you think, okay, you know, you start really looking at them, you go into details, and you see, oh, actually, so many of these watches have been worn, and therefore, you know, the owner, maybe while wearing it, you know, sometimes didn't pay attention, and there's a slight hairline crack, you know, on the dial or something like that. So it actually becomes extremely difficult for people to find nice examples, well preserved, and these examples are actually very nice, you know. So you had a very good eye.
Well, thank you. But I mean, if we talk about that turquoise one, not only it's in pristine condition, but it's actually pretty new because it's still it's still going. And we were talking about it earlier. It's pretty rare also that turquoise, and we've seen that in recent months. If you would look at the different launches, that the turquoise that's being used has some sort of things happening within the stone, even though it used to be like a plastic blue, like the perfect one that had nothing to be criticized or even to look at. What do you think of actually the rise of turquoise in dials?
you know, I love the stone, so I completely, you know, agree with collectors who enjoy turquoise as a stone and to see turquoise in watches. You know, the popularity for me is explained by the beauty of the object and also the quality of the stone, I guess, you know.
Did you know there were 72 varieties of turquoise?
I did not know that. You taught me that a few moments ago.
Well, what is interesting about turquoise is that it's true, not a lot of people know that, and I was talking about the turquoise blue, the plastic blue, going to Tucson and looking at all those stone dealers, but also the brands looking to purchase those stones. They would always come and say, I want to see the most perfect turquoise you have. And for buyers, the most perfect one was not the least interesting one, but kind of, because that's why they call the plastic blue, the one that has no life, we call it nervure, so it's kind of like the nerves that you can see that could range from like silver to gray to even goldish copper. And I was telling you, the little lines that you see are excerpts of copper, which makes the warmth and the life that's coming up to the stone. So that would be an added explanation and comment you can give to a potential new collector wanting to acquire that one.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back to something more, not only specific, but rare and also horological to some extent.
Traditional,
let's put it this way. Do you want to start with the Oman Sultana, or you want to start with the Patek?
Sure, yeah. So in this auction, we've been actually fortunate to have great collectors who entrusted us with the sale of their wristwatches. And while we were creating the sale, you know, and building it up, we actually had the opportunity to, you know, pitch and you know, pitch for this wristwatch, which is a Rolex Reference 6269.
And you were telling me that was super rare for many reasons.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really one of the chronographs, you know, that it's a watch that was made in the 80s, right? And you have to realize that at the time, the market was very different. Today, people really enjoy diamond set pieces, watches with stone dials, you know, watches that are, you know, have a bit of something different. At the time, you were in a market that was a bit more traditional maybe, and it really shows that Rolex, they always had this idea to innovate and you know, to create watches that were a bit daring, and to have a chronograph wristwatch in the 80s made of gold that's in, you know, with a diamond set bezel, diamond set dial, and that has sapphire on the indexes. It's something that was, you know, made at a very small scale for Rolex standards, but at the same time that was extremely exclusive. And the beauty of this wristwatch, you know, is not only its rarity, but when I actually saw it, you know, I enjoy Rolexes, you know, so it's really something that speaks to me, but it's also the condition of the watch. You know, you just see
barely a scratch on the gold.
You see the watch has actually been, you know, extremely well preserved, something absolutely stunning. And then a small little detail, if you look at the provenance of the watch, exactly, it has this Sultanate of Oman engraving. And
those are kind of the coats of arms
of the country. Yeah, and the great thing as well is that the watch comes, you know, from the Middle East, provenance. It is from a private consignor as well. Okay. So, you know, it's just what we enjoy having in auctions and what we're very proud to offer to Rolex collectors.
And if you're also a Rolex fan, here comes
another... Exactly. So yeah, continuing the story, actually, once we had this watch, we thought, okay, it's such an important watch from Rolex, you know, let's start, you know, and try to create something a bit special. And throughout the months, we were actually able to contact some of our clients and build a little, you know, section in our catalog, which is actually watches with Omani provenance. So watches that were made by Rolex, but intended for the Sultanate of Oman, for the Oman, for the market. So this is an example that you selected that I think is.
I love the chocolate brown counters on the dial.
And I understand why. And there's another thing as well. It's a watch that, you know, so many people enjoy, the Daytona chronograph. From this time period, it's really a design that speaks, that's highly elegant. And then when you go into the details that you just mentioned, you have subsidiary dials that have turned brown. So initially they were dark, but with time, humidity, the age of the watch.
The patina just made it...
Exactly, a bit unique. Exactly, and it has a very charismatic, design, and it's just something that I think is a design that was just perfect, for everyday wear at the time, and it's the ultimate sports watch in terms of design.
In case somebody asks and is truly interested, it would be the good number to bid on.
Yeah, and so another great thing about this watch is that the condition is stunning. It's really well preserved. Again, it's a watch that was retailed by Asprey. So you have the engraving at the back of the case, and inside you have the serial number of the wristwatch, which was replicated on the case back. So that's something that was really, something that Asprey used to...
That marks also the date.
The fact that the watch... yeah, so it replicates the serial number, and that's something that you can see on special orders, and especially when watches were ordered for the Sultanate of Oman. So it's something great. And then, unfortunately, I don't have the box with me, but it comes with a Rolex box, which is actually stamped with the Khanjar of Oman, which is the emblem. And then, you have the caboose script, etc., and the Asprey brand. So it's really great.
Great. Now you were telling me a very interesting, kind of funny anecdote about a collector based in Germany who's turning 90-something, and he literally unwrapped the watch from all the plastic, paper bag, tape, etc., to actually, in front of you, give you the watch that he wanted to sell. So what's the particularity of it?
Yeah, so basically, early January, we just finished, New Year's celebration, the holidays, etc. I look at my phone, I have an email from our Germany office saying, there's a person that contacted us and that wants to sell a Patek Philippe. That
Business
tends to happen, I open the email, I contact the gentleman, and then he tells me, actually I have a watch that's a bit special. I'm like, okay, please send me additional details and I'll reply to you straight away. He sends me a picture. It ended up being this wristwatch, which is, the best, one of the iconic references of Patek Philippe, the reference 2499. And then, you realize straight away it's the first series, which is really the series that so many collectors are looking for, and that due to its rarity and also the fact that it's a watch that was made in the 50s, it's not something that's easy to find. So the next day, I take a plane, I arrive in Germany, I go meet the gentleman, 90 years old, who tells me the story. He is from family of Polish descent, who immigrated to Germany after Second World War. His father worked as a banker, made a bit of money, purchased this wristwatch, and then he inherited the wristwatch. So it's an original family watch. The current owner is 90 years old.
And did he have an actual value of what the watch was?
Not at all. He understood.
You actually gave him the estimate. What
so
did
yeah,
he say?
so he understood. He received me in Germany. I went to the bank with him. We opened, his safe. The watch was actually wrapped in so many plastic, bags that he done himself. Like with tape surrounding the plastic so that no one could actually open it. So he understood he had something special, And we unseal it. And then he's like, look, this is the watch I was talking to you about. What do you think? My hands start to shake, my heart starts beating. I tell him, look, it's a very special watch. We'd be absolutely honored to offer it. And then he said, okay, what would be your estimate? I tell him, okay, we can offer it with a starting bid of 1 million Swiss franc. And I strongly recommend you to follow this estimate, as it will be the perfect estimate for our catalog and for our sale. When he heard the $1 million mark, he said, okay, you know what, just take it. You know, I don't want. I'm
I don't
afraid
want
to
to be in
have
charge of this anymore.
exactly. I don't want the
But
responsibility.
why did he want to sell it in the first place?
Well, you know, he's 90. He has two daughters who aren't into watchmaking, so or collecting. You know, and they're not collectors. So you know, it's just a change of interest, and you know, they can, yeah. But yeah, and then you know, we started analyzing the wristwatch. It's just absolutely stunning. It's the rare watch. It's, you know, an extremely rare watch, the reference that everyone wants, the series that everyone wants, in a condition that's absolutely stunning.
So would you say that it could be like the special lot of the rare auction watch?
It definitely could be.
Yeah?
It has the potential, you know. So we'll see on Saturday, but it's absolutely a stunning watch. And you know, when you have private provenance and a watch that was never appeared on the market, on the auction market.
That's in a very good condition as well.
So, yeah, no, it's absolutely stunning.
Now moving on to the last piece of the selection, but yet another very rare Patek Philippe.
Exactly. So that's you know, it's highly important. It's a watch which in 1989 was made by Patek Philippe, and was at the
best
time
year ever.
Exactly.
The
You know,
year
150.
150th anniversary, but it technically was my birthday.
And on top of well, the timepiece that we have here, it was the world's most complicated wristwatch when it was created.
Because of the minute repeater, the QP,
moon phases, the fact that it has an automatic movement as well. And it just has
diameter as well.
Yeah, but for the time it was, you know, something you know, normal. And what I really like about this watch is, you know, the rarity. It is a hugely important wristwatch for Patek Philippe's history. It's still contemporary, having been made in the 90s. This specific example, it's the rarest metal of the 3974. You've had examples in yellow gold, in pink gold, in platinum, and this is white gold. And the other amazing thing is that the watch actually comes with all its accessories, the certificate, the box. It has the additional case back, and it works perfectly, and the condition is really great. And another great thing for, you know, avid collectors of Patek Philippe and others, you know, who follow independent watchmaking, like Recep, for example, will recognize. You see on the back, you have the Jean-Pierre Hagman stamp. So legendary case maker of Patek Philippe, and
which adds another stone to the
exactly to the collectible appeal of the wristwatch. And in the end, you know, he's been really known for making amazing cases which work beautifully with minute repeaters, and the sound is absolutely great.
Well, thank you so much for all of this. Good luck on, I mean, the rare auction sale that will be happening on Saturday.
Thank you.
But right before that, I mean, we have to talk about Art of Jour, which is going to be the first dedicated auction to a living watchmaker who also happens to be a genius. And you will be auctioneering this on Friday at 1 p.m. here as well at the the Four Seasons, sorry. The Four Seasons Hotel. What makes this auction actually super exciting?
Well, you know, it's...
You were talking about the rise of independent watchmakers, and you also have a couple in your rare watches selection, but this one is very different.
Of course, and you know, it's an amazing project that we've been extremely proud, you know, to present to our collectors and collectors worldwide. As you mentioned, it's the first auction dedicated to a living watchmaker, François Paul Journe. I personally love the creations of François Paul Journe, and it's really one of the reasons why, you know, I felt compelled, you know, to do it. And yeah, it will be a comprehensive selection, 39 lots, with the first pieces, you know, from the beginning of his brand, with the tourbillon, souscription, the early resonance wristwatches, and then, you know, you kind of go throughout the years and you see, you know, multiple timepieces, the vagabondage, tourbillon,
how he made
Regency.
Perfection evolve from one year to another.
Exactly, but also, you know, the steadiness in his designs, in his philosophy, and that's something that, you know, we're really proud to present to people, so that so many collectors at Christie's who collect art, jewelry, or or different categories can appreciate and actually relate to
as a piece of art on the wrist. And if you were to say, maybe not an argument, but like how to convince in one sentence a collector who'd be interesting or who wonder if he were to buy a François Paul Journe versus another independent watchmaker, what would you tell that collector? What precisely of François Paul Journe would be not the best investment, but to watch collection, it would be a great added value to it?
I think actually what I would tell him, being in Geneva, I would tell him go to the Journe manufacturer. you meet François Paul Journe for a couple minutes, you understand. You understand that he's not about making a wristwatch that will suit people. He's about making a wristwatch that he likes, and that to share his vision of watchmaking to collectors around. And that, I think, when you have this a great vision, you don't make compromises or sacrifices. You have the quality and the
sensitivity of also what perfection and beauty is.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect recipe for greatness and for watches of immense quality.
Well, it'll be a nice moment in history for you to bring to the audience and for all the people watching you and attending that sale on Friday, right before the rare auction.
Exactly. That would be on the 12th, Four Seasons, 1 p.m.
1 p.m. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
for your
Eleonor.
time and all of those anecdotes and explanation. I'm looking forward
My pleasure.
to the November auction then.
Of course.